Teak tree and small herb. There was a proud teak tree in the forest. He was tall and strong. There was a small herb next to the tree. The teak tree said, "I am very handsome and strong. No one can defeat me." Hearing this, the herb replied, "Dear friend, too much pride is harmful. Even the strong will fall one day." The teak ignored the herb's words. He continued to praise himself. A strong wind blew. The teak stood firmly. Even when it rained, the teak stood strong by spreading its leaves. At the same time, the herb bowed low. The teak made fun of the herb. One day there was a storm in the forest. The herb bowed low. As usual, the teak did not want to bow. The storm kept growing stronger. The teak could no longer bear it. He felt his strength giving way. He fell down. This was the end of the proud tree. When everything was calm, the herb stood straight. He looked around. He saw the proud teak had fallen. Moral: being too proud can be harmful for life. Who will teach him? When Benkei held his seclusion weeks of meditation, pupils from many parts of Japan came to attend. Once during such gathering, a man was caught stealing. Whole incident was reported to Benkei. After hearing the case, Benkei didn't took any action and ignored the incident. Just after one day of previous theft, same man was caught stealing again. This time other people who were attending the gathered demanding his expulsion from gathering. Even this time Benkei didn't took any action against him. Later that day, all people present there drew up a petition, asking for dismissal of thief or else they will leave that seclusion. When Benkei read that petition, he called everyone before him and said, "You are wise brothers. You know what's right and what's wrong. You may go somewhere else to study if you wish. But this poor brother doesn't even know right from wrong. Who will teach him if I don't? I am not going to ask him to leave. I am going to keep him here even if it means that all rest of you leave." Man who was caught stealing was also present there, and after listening to Benkei, torrent of tears came down and his all desire to steal was vanished. Moral: story encourages us not to rush judging people and learn to forgive, to compassionately help those who do not have the same tools that we have. We should strive to lift them up just as we strive to lift ourselves and those we love up despite their own flaws. Way to calm mind. Once Buddha with his followers was traveling from one town to another town. While traveling, they walked by a lake. After some time they all stopped to rest. After all settled down, one of his disciples asked him, "How can we calm mind when we have disturbing thoughts?" Buddha was sitting under a tree and said to him, "I am feeling thirsty. Can you bring me some water from that lake?" Disciple walked back to lake and noticed that some people were washing clothes. So walked some distance to get clean water and sat there to collect, but as he was going to collect water, a bullock cart passed by and water became muddy. Disciple waited, but one or other things were going on there and water was still muddy. So he thought to himself that he can't give such muddy water as it is not fit to drink, so he decided to go back without water. Disciple came back empty-handed and told Buddha about it. After hour, Buddha asked him to go back to lake and bring some water. Disciple went back to lake, and this time he was able to find clean water. He filled pot with water and brought it back to Buddha. Disciple gave water to Buddha and said, "Last time I went there was lot of mud and water, but now water on the surface of lake was clean." How? Buddha replied, "When you went last time, mud was unsettled and it was mixed with water on surface and water became unfit to drink, but when you went after an hour, mud settled down on its own. And you got clean water that was fit for drinking. Your mind is like that also. When it is disturbed, give it some time and it will settle down on its own." You don't have to put effort to calm it, and with time your mind will be calm effortlessly. Troubles in Life, Story 1, Spilling Sand from Bucket. Once a monk committed grave fault. A wise hermit was summoned to judge him. Hermit refused to judge, but still other monks insisted him to come and judge. At last Hermit agreed. On the day on judgment, he arrived on the place carrying a bucket of sand on his back. Bucket had a hole in it, out of which sand was spilling. Hermit said to monastery superior, "I came to judge my brother. My sins are spilling out behind me like the sand from this bucket. But since I don't look back and noticed my own sins, I was summoned to judge my brother." All other monk understood hermit meaning and gave up the idea of judging and punishing that monk. Story 2, Your Own Cross. One man complained all his life about all the problems he faced. He came to God and told him about his troubles. God looked at him and took him to the store of cross, where each cross represented the troubles a person facing in his life. God said, "Choose." Man was surprised and asked, "Can I choose a cross for myself?" God replied, "Yes. Now come and choose. Cross which you find best." Man came inside the store and started looking at all the crosses. He saw all kind of crosses, heavy, medium, big, little, light. While walking through the store, man looked for the lightest cross there. At last he found one and came to God and said, "May I take this one?" God answered, "Yes. You may. It's your own cross." Moral: when we face problems in our life, we complain about it. But we should remember that everyone have their own fight, and what we face might be just smallest of troubles what other face. Teak Tree and Small Herb. There was a proud teak tree in the forest. He was tall and strong. There was a small herb next to the tree. The teak tree said, "I am very handsome and strong. No one can defeat me." Hearing this, the herb replied, "Dear friend, too much pride is harmful. Even the strong will fall one day." The teak ignored the herb's words. He continued to praise himself. A strong wind blew. The teak stood firmly. Even when it rained, the teak stood strong by spreading its leaves. At the same time, the herb bowed low. The teak made fun of the herb. One day there was a storm in the forest. The herb bowed low. As usual, the teak did not want to bow. The storm kept growing stronger. The teak could no longer bear it. He felt his strength giving way. He fell down. This was the end of the proud tree. When everything was calm, the herb stood straight. He looked around. He saw the proud teak had fallen. Moral: being too proud can be harmful for life.